gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome to LMDtv. I'm Ashwini Vethakan. Joining us this week on Talking Business is the managing partner of KPMG Sri Lanka, Reyaz Mihular. Welcome to the show, Reyaz. It's good to have you with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Let's start with the most obvious question for this evening, Reyaz. What do you see as the pros and cons of Budget 2022?
All right, Ashwini, let me start with the pros. I think the budget 2022 can give an opportunity for the government to give a clear direction on what its economic policy is going to be going forward. Because as you know, the last year or so, we have lot of to and froing on the policies, and that has confused the market a bit, particularly investors and others, as to which direction the government is going. I know some of those measures were necessitated by circumstances, but I think the budget speech, I'm not talking more the proposals, but the speech might be a useful instrument for the government to clearly enunciate its policy, economic policy. Ultimately, that's what people are looking for, and what the policy would be for the next few years, because people look for stability. That's the pro I see in the budget that is coming up. Of course, the cons are we are in a difficult time, and normally budgets give goodies to people. I don't think the government can give goodies this time. So that may be something that the people who may be expecting the traditional goodies may not get this time. So that's my take on the budget 2022.
So are we then right in saying that education and healthcare needs more attention given the last 18 months?
I think, the fact that, we need more allocation for education and healthcare is a no-brainer. No question about it, particularly with the pandemic that went. The fact that we had a reasonably good primary healthcare system, I think came to our rescue in a big way. I think our PHI system was a clear winner when it came to the managing the pandemic. So that's a good, strong point, which we need to strengthen further. So more allocation for healthcare, no doubt, and more allocation for education, because ultimately, we don't have resources that we can leverage. Our biggest resource is our intellectual capability, and the more trained people, more educated people we have, that's what we can leverage on in terms of competitiveness in the world economy. But I must say one thing here: it is not just set of just giving money, allocating money. I think we already allocate a reasonable sum of money for healthcare and education. But my problem is how effectively are we using that money? Right? Now, I'll give a very simple example on the healthcare. We see every time people coming from very remote parts all the way to the general hospital for medication. And if there is a strike, then they curse the government and walk or go all the way back. Now, I don't see why they need to come all the way here if we can use and get better leverage of all the health system that we have, the base hospitals, primary hospitals, the healthcare centers that are there. If we can use technology to better leverage that, then I think we will make better use of the allocation. So we have infrastructure which we are not utilizing properly. There is technology that can help. For instance, in Sri Lankan software manufacturers who came up with the software are using that system along with a telco in Bangladesh very effectively. Now, I don't see why we can't use a similar system in Sri Lanka as well. So my question is not just allocation of money, but we need to get better utilization of that money. For example, on education, I mean, we are producing a whole lot of, arts graduates which have no value sometimes and no relevance. We should be more focused on the type of graduates we produce, more into the technical skills. So while I'm talking about allocation for health and education, I think more intelligent utilization of the funds is, I think, very, very important for us to leverage on those monies.
Is the balance between indirect and direct taxes heading in the right direction?
No, I think it is public knowledge that, generally the gold standard is about at least direct taxes should be at least 20%. I mean, whereas, our direct taxes have come down. Now it's hovering around 11-12%, which is not adequate. We need to drive direct taxes up, because I think tax is what you pay for all of those resources. We want good roads, we want good facilities, we want good infrastructure, but somebody is going to pay for this. And people who use that must pay for it. I mean, I wouldn't want my driver or maid paying for my petrol. Right? If I'm using my car, I must pay the right cost for my petrol. Right? So I think we at the moment have skewed a lot into indirect. Right? I know it's easy to collect, but I think we need to focus a little more on our direct taxes. And I'm not talking about increasing taxes. Right? Even the taxes as they are, if they're better administered, right, then I think we'll do better. We have about 150,000 tax files at the last count that I knew of. Right? So I think we need to make sure that people pay their taxes. I mean, it can't be that we have only 150,000 tax files. I know we had payee taxes earlier. Now even that has been taken out. I think that needs to be brought back, because I think that was an easy, effective way of collecting taxes. So I think that's what I would say. It's not just only a question of increasing tax rates. Yes, direct taxes must go up, but I think the way to do that is through better administration of the tax system, so that everybody pays their share of tax, rather than a few people paying the taxes and everybody else having a free ride on it.
Now, Reyaz, in your opinion, what are some of the likely consequences of the budget to the economy?
You see, the budget, as I said, will have to set out, to my mind, what the direction or the direction of travel the country is going to pursue going forward. We know we are going through a foreign currency crunch. We are going through a lot of shortages and a lot of issues. I think a lot of this is due to fairly ad hoc decisions that have been made. Therefore, there is important for a clarity with regard to where we are going. And therefore, this budget, to my mind, is critical in that it will hopefully set the stage, and that direction of travel or the policy that is set out will have a huge impact on the economy of the country. Right? There is a saying that, the economy can look after itself. The less the government interferes with the economy can look after itself. Businesses know how to look after themselves. But if there is constant meddling around with the policies, then businesses have uncertainty and that economy suffers. So to me, therefore, this budget will be critical in that it will hopefully set a clear direction of where the country is going to go economically with regard to its policies.
And on that note, we'll be going in for a short break. Welcome back to the show as we continue our conversation with the managing partner of KPMG Sri Lanka, Reyaz Mihular. What is the role played by audit committees in helping corporates to face the challenges imposed by the pandemic?
You talk of audit committees, I would enlarge that to the boards as well. See, the pandemic, I think, taught us it was a rude reawakening, awakening for lots of companies. It taught us that, things that we all took for granted may not necessarily be so. It also brought us very rudely the fact that, we need to be agile. The companies that were agile, who were able to think quickly and be flexible in their business planning, survived better than the others. And I'll give a simple example. You take, I mean, I have a lot of admiration for this company, Pick Me, the local company that started with rides. During the pandemic, they went into food, then they went into to parcel delivery, then they went into grocery. So they adapted very quickly using a platform that they had. So I think what companies need to understand is that, we can't be stubborn and saying, this is our business plan, come hell or high water, we are going to go with that. That is not going to work. So boards of companies and also the audit committees have a role as a subcommittee of the board in making sure that the company's operations are sufficiently agile and flexible to take advantage of the opportunities that these challenges throw. Mind you, all of these challenges like the pandemic threw up a lot of opportunities, right? And people who were smart grabbed those opportunities. The people who were not smart got left behind. They say there is a saying that which I think was first done by the GM, who was the CEO of GM. He said that if the rate of change in the environment is greater than the rate of change within the company or within your organization, then you will soon end up as a dinosaur. And I think that's an important message for all boards and audit committees.
Now, Reyaz, in your assessment, what are the pillars of ESG companies should address to align their operations with an ESG strategy?
I would say all three pillars have relevance. See, when you talk of ESG, we talk of environment, social, governance, right? If we thought that we can abuse the environment and continue to grow, I think we are seeing very clearly the consequences of that world over. So much so, we just recently, I think it's still on the process or just finished the COP26, where the world is realizing that they need to stop the global warming, limit it to 1.5 degrees. If not, we are all going to have a world economic disaster. So I think environment is no longer a nice thing to have. Those days people say, oh, I grew trees, a few trees in my garden, or, in the office car park. That's not it. That's not it's not nice what you see, the outward thing. Environment, then social, making sure that you provide equal opportunities to people to work, no discrimination, making sure that everybody gets an equal chance to work and thrive. And then the governance, to make sure that it is not just a top-down governance, but a type of leadership style which takes people along with you, right? These are all three are not some things that, what we thought was just nice to have in an annual report. These have to go into the DNA of your planning. So when you're planning your company's operations, digitalization, for example, has to be at the core. The old paper-based has to think. Now I think we are making significant now change into this KYC. For a long time, our KYC forms has to be physically signed off, and now they're coming with digital KYC. I think that's a good direction. So business planning, whether it is banks or companies, will have to look at digitalization as a key pillar. They'll have to look at the workplace practices, the opportunities that they give to work people. They must look at the leadership styles, right? Not as just a cosmetic, but something that goes into the complete DNA of the organization. So to me, I think all three pillars have relevance, but the relevance comes not from just cosmetic approaches to these pillars, but make these pillars into an integral part of your company's business planning.
Now, Reyaz, what are the most significant risks Sri Lankan companies need to focus on in their risk management strategies?
Risk management is something very critical. I mean, I keep saying that any business that you do, even a small business, the moment they take the money out of fixed deposits or savings and then put into a business, there's risk. And that's why we always say that when you put money into a business, you expect a higher return than what you'll expect in a bank fixed deposit, because you want that return for the risk. So risk is the substance of business. Anything that you do has risk. So if you don't have risk management as a core, of how you plan your business, your work process, etc., right, you're going to have a lot of surprises. So I think companies are now realizing this, the importance of risk management, that it is not something that you do post-event, but it is something that you do pre, where you more the preventive side. There's no point of having great inquiry systems that inquire into a fraud after it has happened. You must have systems in place which will ensure to prevent that from happening. That now, for example, today with the pandemic, lots of companies have gone into people working from home. So people are logging into systems from their laptops from home. And some of these are do with client data, client information, and that can expose a company to a lot of risks with regard to the security of data, hacking, etc. So that's one example of how the pandemic has enhanced the risk profile of businesses. But it is so in so many other aspects, right? So I think, to me, any business that doesn't have risk management at the core of its processes that are developed, I think will be in for a lot of unpleasant surprises.
Our final question for this evening, Reyaz, based on recent developments, which industries are on an upward growth trajectory and how must the country prepare for this?
It's as I think mentioned earlier, we don't have the size or the resources to have heavy industries. The real future will come from service. We have a very literate population, easily trainable population. So the industries that will do well in the future are service industries. We should aim to be service hubs which can plug into the global supply chain. I mean, if we think that we can be all things, a make and complete iPhone in Sri Lanka for the iPhone company in the US, I think that's not feasible. But we can become a hub for some of the components that go into the iPhone. That's a small light industries where a particular trainability, easy, high literacy, those are things that we should. So I look at light industries which will be part of a global supply chain where we can plug into the global supply chain. I look at service industries where we can provide. We have outside, I think, the UK, the largest population of accountants in this country, and we can be the accounting hub for the world if you want to be. Right? But that requires the right investment in technology, the right investment in connectivity, attractive pricing for data. All of these are environment that is important if you want to be able to provide it. So I think we should, if I'm approaching this, I would say I will not try and do a spray and pray approach. I would focus on, let's say, max 5, 3 to 5 areas and say, okay, that's what I'm going for. And then try and, make sure that we provide all the opportunities for those 5 sectors to grow. And that, I think, will see us getting easily into be an upper middle income country in the not too distant future.
Well, this has been an interesting conversation, and I, for one, have learned a lot about budgets and their help in business strategy. Thank you for joining us on the show this evening, Reyaz.
Thank you, Ashwini. I really enjoyed this conversation. I hope I've been able to at least partake from some of my thoughts into this very interesting conversation. Thank you.
Coming up, we have the latest updates from Life on Earth. Stay tuned.
You love the feeling of being renewed. To stay beautiful every single day. To breathe just like we do. Because you are truly delicate. Protecting the ones who've been with us through the years. With Sayalac Care, the only wood coating that truly protects you. Select Wood Coatings from JAT.
Welcome back, and here's the latest update from Life on Earth. The mental health of young people was overlooked even before the pandemic. An analysis by UNICEF and the Zurich Foundation notes that COVID-19 has only deepened these concerns, resulting in youth being confronted with an avalanche of new problems, including challenges to their education, social life, and employment. At least 10% of the global population has been affected by anxiety disorders. Building a strong support system and healthy habits such as exercising can improve mental well-being in leaps and bounds. Creating a supportive network can facilitate conversations that are rooted in empathy and compassion. Investing in mental health awareness should be a joint effort by both private and public sectors, while ensuring that low-income nations are given adequate tools to promote mental well-being as well. The leading cause of concern globally is coronavirus, according to 37% of respondents to a recent survey, followed by unemployment at 31%, poverty and social inequality at 31%, financial and political corruption at 29%, and crime and violence at 25%. An estimated 14% of 10 to 19-year-olds live with diagnosed mental disorders, and half of all diagnosable mental disorders begin by the age of 14. A study conducted in Jamaica in 2018 notes that 41% of young people stated their mental health was not taken seriously due to misconceptions about mental illness. Meanwhile, 36% said cultural norms prevented the recognition of the significance of mental health to overall well-being, while 24% believed it was not viewed seriously due to a lack of information. Additionally, 4% identified religion as a cause for mental health being overlooked. When it comes to low-income countries, less than 1% of government healthcare budgets is spent on mental health. Mental ill health is considered to be the leading cause of disability and poor life outcomes in young people aged 10 to 24 years, contributing to 45% of the overall burden of the disease in this group. And that's all the time we have for you this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching, and stay safe.